So I know I said in a previous video, although I didn't really elaborate, so I took a picture of Thrifty, my demon clown, and put it on a couple of paranormal Facebook groups, which really is something I shouldn't have done. Why? Because controversy. And then you have to reassure people and let them know, oh, I wasn't meaning to tell you that's what you needed to do with your life. Sorry. And as you know, when you're texting, they can't really read tones, so that they either think you're angry or condescending or you're an arrogant asshole of some sort, when really all you were just doing was saying, hey, look at this cool thing. Look at me. Look at what I can do. You know, that's all that you're doing. But people take it very seriously, especially when your opinion is involved. And the way opinions work is opinions are formed by your experiences, by the kind of person you are and how you see the world. And what I do is not necessarily what you're going to do. What I believe, you might not believe. Just because something works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and I'm not going to tell you what you need to do with your life, because it's completely pointless, because you're going to do what you want. Just like you could come to me and say, Satan! And all of this, and tell me that, but I'm going to do what I want to do too, and I'm going to do what's best for me. What you do in your own home is entirely your business. It is not my home. It is not my life. So I cannot tell you how you are to live it, or what rituals you are to use, or whether you get in contact with spirits at all. But as I posted this on Facebook, I was actually quite amused by it instead of being offended. I, instead of reacting and saying, well, you're wrong, which is a natural reaction when someone disagrees with you sometimes. And so instead of that, I thanked them for the recommendations. I said thank you for letting me know, but I'm safe, and I know what I'm doing, and I've really enjoyed your comment. It was very, very amusing looking at the comments, and one person said, burn it, and I was like, whoa, that's an extreme. That's an extreme. That's like, okay, burn. I'm like, no. As I said before, I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not gonna just get a wad of money and set it on fire. Some of these haunted objects that I bought, they cost money. So, for me to burn them is literally just me burning money. Don't need to do that. I'm actually pretty careful with money too. I'd like to keep it that way. Another thing is, burning anything does not solve the problem. You know why? Because yes, you got rid of the vessel. You got rid of the vessel, yeah. But what happens to the spirit? This is a spirit that's beyond your comprehension, beyond our realm of existence, beyond our plane of existence. They don't even live in the same dimension as we do. And burning a something that you don't understand has never worked. It's never worked in the past. When they burned witches during the Spanish Inquisition, that didn't work. We're not going to talk about Salem, because there weren't really any witches that were born. There was only one witch that was actually historically recorded as being burned. The rest were hanged. So, other than that, killing something does not kill the problem. It doesn't solve it. And for me, burning or putting something in a room that's locked away, and whether it's a holy vessel or a vessel that's going to keep them contained, to me is a demonic entity that cannot be reasoned with. It is an entity that you have tried to come to an agreement with. You've tried to get them to understand that these are the boundaries. These are the rules. Please follow them. That is an extreme. It's an extreme because Now, when things are flying off the shelf and you start actually getting scratches or bruises or things like that, then that is a concern. That is a concern. The one thing I do not recommend is to get a spirit that cannot be reasoned with through any communications that is available to you. That is not something you want in the home. And the way that I see it is sometimes entities are very much like people in the sense that they prefer other people over others. We do that all the time. Hey, there are people that we just don't like, okay? We don't go out of our way necessarily to be mean to them, and they might not go out of their way to necessarily be mean to us, but there are people that we just don't get along with, either because they're too much like us, they're too different from us, maybe it's their personality, maybe it's the vibe that they give you. But spirits, demons, angels, aliens, whatever spirit that you're speaking to, they have preferences, and sometimes all it takes is the right home or the right attitude or really just the right way of handling it. And the one thing that has worked wonders for me is being understanding, compassionate, being assertive without, standing my ground without being aggressive, obviously, just being like, okay, this is the rules. And the way that you can see it is a privilege to have a spirit communicate with you or be in your presence. And it's a privilege for them to be there. It's a privilege for you to be there. So there's that synonymous understanding that you have right there. Also, another thing is spirits do not perform for you, okay? They just because you buy them or you get them from Mercari, Poshmark, eBay, Etsy, Goodwill, wherever you get your haunted objects, does not mean that they are yours or they're gonna serve you or they're gonna protect you or they're gonna be your buddy. Um, Sometimes people they get haunted objects not really understanding uh the capability or what that entity is capable of. And when you ignore an entity, meaning putting them in a container, putting them away, I believe that there is a massive buildup of energy. I mean, think of a volcano. It's just building and building and building and building all that frustration. And there's a lot of anger that's involved with neglect and abandonment. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of self-doubt and self-loathing. And spirits, I believe, are very highly emotional beings. And some of them have been here since the beginning of time. And to just kind of assume that you're in control at all in any situation is a little bit presumptuous, because there's always an exception. There's always going to be something that may not apply to that situation. But apart from that, I see it as a last resort and a last, you know, kind of the final plan of, and even then it should only be a temporary situation. If you have a haunted object that is for sure unreasonable entity and you cannot handle it, you cannot touch it without it causing some negative side effects, then putting it in a room or locking it away is only a temporary situation. It's only temporary. Now, unless this is some sort of demon that really needs to be locked away, like it can't be around anyone else, then yes, that would be a necessary situation. But when it comes to interacting with demons, the best thing to do is to acknowledge them. Say, hey, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, I know that you're there, I know what you are, therefore I'm not afraid of you, but I would like to know your story. Everyone has a story, and when you're ready, I am willing to listen. Another thing is I don't make demands. As much as I would like things to just fly off the shelf or have the lights flicker or all this crazy stuff to happen, I understand that they are individuals, and independent individuals at that, and they will do their thing when they want to do it. So I'm not pressuring them. I'm not saying, okay, give me a sign. I'm not doing that. Um, uh, like as much as I want something creepy to happen, uh, I'm not that much of a thrill seeker that I don't regard the feelings of that entity, or that I'm not considerate of how they feel about the situation, because I do know they have feelings. Um, and I choose not to underestimate them, and ignoring them is underestimating. In a way it is, because you may be thinking that, oh yeah, I'm taking charge. You're not taking charge. You are not taking charge by putting something and locking it away in the room. That is literally what my friend used to do when she tried to clean her room. Okay, we were teenagers. She would get all of her clothes, didn't matter if they were in hangers or not, and then she stuffed them in a cupboard in her room. And it didn't matter if it fit or not. Often it would just burst open. But yeah, shoving something in somewhere and just forgetting about it is a little bit like getting on in their perspective. It is like they are the adult and you are putting them in timeout. You are accusing them of something that they probably didn't do, perhaps. And you're also not figuring out what the problem is. Sometimes the problem is because people do not listen. They do not hear. And to not be seen or heard by anyone is a very frustrating situation. So it is best to be compassionate and understanding of their predicament. But you're like, well, you shouldn't be sympathizing with demons. Yet again, this is my life. I can do what I want. If I want to sympathize with demons, if I want to commune with them, if I want to do that, I can do that. There is no law against this, and so far nothing negative has really happened, because I'm very selective about what spirits enter my home. And I consult my other spirits as well to make sure that whatever haunted object that I'm bringing into my home is not going to be toxic or possibly dangerous for my home and the people that live in it, including myself. So I like to be safe, yes. Some people do this because it's a thrill. It's a thrill. The best thing to do is not so much expect something to happen, but expect that something positive is going to come of what you're doing. And as I said, what I've found that has done wonders, it has been having a compassionate understanding and assertive attitude, and acknowledging the spirits that are with you. And sometimes, there's that argument of, well, you shouldn't play with spirits. You shouldn't play with that, or that kind of thing. But if you are religious, perhaps, you know that there's something else out there, right? So in actuality, you're never alone. You're never alone. Technologically, you're not alone. There have been, these may be just conspiracy theories. I think that's probably all they are. But there's some people that actually believe that the government does actually listen into our conversations. There are cameras everywhere. You may think that you're alone when you go down a dark alley, but you're not. You may think, that you're safe when you're online. You're not. In this day and age with technology, we are never truly alone. Sometimes we're not physically alone. Sometimes we're not spiritually alone. So since there's a whole nother world out there of not only just technology, but a world where spirits exist, it is enough to assume that you have been living in harmony with spirits already. You just didn't know it. Because maybe you don't have the gift to see them, or you don't want to see them, or it's just not something that you're interested in. Maybe it's just something you need to practice on. I really don't know the case, but it's quite possible that you have interacted with a demon, and a demon has interacted with you too. So before you go off on me and be like, anti-mind and all of that, and another thing I'm gonna say is a lot of the myths that you think about when it comes to spiritualism. For instance, I found that it was actually pretty. I found out that having a Ouija session in a graveyard was a beautiful experience. I'm not saying it was so wonderful, and such a liberating experience. I can tell you, I went to a private place, so, because I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want people going, no, that kind of thing. I don't want the confrontation, and I don't want to have to sit there and explain that there's a lot of issues right there, but a can of worms that you don't want to open. So, and it was outside, and it was just heavenly, I would have to say. That is a myth. You can indeed have a Ouija session in a graveyard. I think the only reason people don't recommend it is because perhaps there have been some negative experiences in the past. And I'm going to say, don't determine your experiences by the experiences of others. Experience it for yourself. And if you're not interested, don't experience it at all. If that's a no-no to you, don't do it. Don't do it. If you have, follow your instincts. If your instincts are telling you don't do this, then don't do it. Trust your gut. Trust what you're feeling. Realize that what you're feeling right now, the instincts, the intuition, the things that you're feeling are very valid. And it may be that a spirit, perhaps an entity that is benevolent, perhaps something that was appointed to you that's looking out for you, maybe trying to warn you that don't do that. But for me, it was positive. It was a positive experience. I loved it, and it was just magical. Another thing that's a myth is that all demons are evil. If you're religious, you believe that demons were angels at one point, okay? Yeah. So, yeah, we've been conditioned to think that they're evil. When in actuality, if you actually sat down and had a conversation with one, you'll find that, yes, they're dark entities, but they are not necessarily evil in the sense that they are going to cause something bad to happen to you. They may not be interested. And most of the demons that I've talked with, they do not want to possess you. They don't want to possess you because possession is it's a process. They have to weaken you. They have to make sure that you've given up completely. They also have to build up a trust. Sometimes they have to actually build up a relationship with you, to trick. Maybe they have to trick you into doing it. And often it is a specific demon doing a specific task for a specific reason, and it's a very you know, possession doesn't happen as often as you think it does. The reason being is demons do not, they don't like to do that. It means that they have to put in a lot of hard work, and essentially still have to deal with you. They still have to deal with your bodily functions and your mind, and possibly you fighting them. And they're dealing with a lot. And the thing is, we are not really good vessels for demons, okay? Because we have a lot going on. We're very complex, and for a demon to come inside of us is kind of like it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you know that trunk that you try to put everything into and you have to sit on it so that it will close? It's kind of like that. It's not a good situation. You're all cramped in there like Bill and Ted in that telephone booth. You're getting in someone's space, they're getting in your space, and it's kind, if you think about it, it's kind of an intimate experience, because something is, you are a part of each other. And we are drama, so to try to, you know, be a part of that may not be an enjoyable experience for them. So most demons will want to control the environment out, you know, externally, otherwise on the outside of situations. So that's why they'll knock things over. Maybe they'll position their vessel in a different position. They'll do something, you know, or they'll create ominous feelings, that kind of thing. Sometimes spirits will mimic your feelings, and they will, whatever uh, you know, you're feeling, they might reflect back to you. They also may reflect back to you with 3 times more intensity. Sometimes it'll be equal. It just depends on the spirit, really, and it's just important to know what um, what the agenda of your spirit is. For instance, you're probably going to know right away if you are intuitive and all that kind of stuff. You're probably going to know right away if a spirit is reasonable or not. First of all, if you are feeling vulnerable, or you're feeling exposed, or you're feeling like you may be in danger, or if you're having this sensation that you're on the edge of a cliff somewhere and someone is going to push you out off at any time, or you are experiencing that, really do listen to that, because that may be your instincts trying to warn you. It may be your conscience trying to say, this is not a good situation, you need to get out of here. And so yes, it really does pay to work through your fears and not react, but rather respond. But sometimes it is necessary for you to react quickly. And if you're in a situation where you think that you may be in danger, or you may be endangering your family and friends, please withdraw yourself from that situation. Be safe. Be safe as you can be. And when you are interacting with anything that's haunted, whether it's a location or an object, you know, many things are appropriate for this. I guess it depends what they respond to best, but it's good to have holy vessels or blessed talismans, for instance. Many people, I've heard that there was this woman who brought a dried ear of corn that she had blessed, and she would put that on her Ouija board. And I've heard some really unusual you know, stories, but also you know, it could be something very sentimental, something that has absorbed a lot of your good energy, perhaps the good energy of someone near and dear to you. So prayers are always, you know, those are always an option, whatever your higher power is. And if you're into crystals, that's great too. Selenite is really, really useful for that, because that can purify um, your your space, or your board, or whatever haunted object you might be dealing with, or communication from devices that you have. Um, so sometimes people have objects that are not necessarily like extraordinary, but they absorb a lot of energy from you, and they will have some magical properties that can help protect you. But it is all a matter of belief, and it's a matter of what works for you. But it's helpful to have those on hand. Incense, Palo Santo, candles, um, those can help purify your space, as well as the objects that are around you. Now, if that's not working, if sage and that other stuff is not working, yeah, you're dealing with something that's very, very powerful, and possibly. And if you have a powerful entity, the only time when a powerful entity is dangerous is when they are not to be reasoned with. Um, and that is why that is the last resort when it comes to banishing them, or burning them, or putting them someplace else, or locking them up somewhere. That is either a permanent situation or it's temporary. It's quite possible it's going to be temporary, because if you didn't seal them up properly, and you don't know if are they actually sealed inside of that doll, or toy, or stuffed animal. You don't know that. They could possibly be one of those things where they just kind of roam around. And so uh, putting them in a vessel may not do anything. It may just aggravate the entity. So yeah, definitely ask questions, be curious, have an open mind, and know that there are no absolutes, especially when it comes to the spirit realm. There are going to be things that you don't understand. There are going to be things that are scary, and that's okay to be scared. It's okay to worry, and it's okay to be nervous. But there are entities out there that are very in tune. Most spirits can feel your emotions. They know what you're feeling, and they also understand how your body works, which means if you, for instance, are feeling, maybe you have some cramps or something, or you hurt your foot, or you did that, they're gonna know that that's what's going on. They're gonna feel your nervousy. They're gonna feel that, but they're also gonna see how you react, and that's gonna determine how they interact with you. Um, if you're reacting and flipping out and going, then they're going to take that as either a challenge, or they're going to think that it's just funny. They might just think that it's funny. Also, another thing, if spirits do certain things that are just kind of cruel, or whatever, understand that sometimes it's not that they are evil, it is because they are mischievous. They want to create a little bit of mischief, and it's quite possible that they're bored. Sometimes when spirits are bored and they're not being interacted with and they're not being acknowledged, they will do some pretty crazy things. And that will be interacting with their environment as they please. And sometimes they just do it because it's fun for them. It is fun to see somebody scared. Maybe it's fun to see how people react, and especially if it's somebody that they trust, or somebody that they like. It's actually kind of entertaining for them, because they get to interact with their environment, and they get to interact with you, and they get to see how you respond and react to these spiritual phenomenons. So I'm not going to tell you don't be scared. there's a reason to be scared, because these are entities that are beyond our comprehension and beyond our plane of existence. We don't fully understand them. I don't fully understand them. So I choose not to underestimate them in any way, and I choose to give them respect. I choose to be kind and understanding as I possibly can, because I realize that there are several sides to every story. And yes, I am aware that spirits will lie. But let me tell you something. If a spirit is telling you more than one, like telling you something different every single time, it's quite possible that it's not, if that information is not contradictory, that they are just giving you more information. And they may not feel comfortable telling you everything. Some spirits will be really brutally honest, and they'll just tell you right away. They'll just be like, this is what I'm about, this is who I am, and this is what I'm doing here. Other times, sometimes they'll tell you right away. They'll just be like, oh, yep, I'm here. This is my name. This is what I'm doing. While other times you have to be specific. For instance, you could be very wordy and very eloquent. Like I asked Thrifty not so long ago, I said, what do you excel at most that can influence the physical world? And I didn't realize how vague a question that was. I thought, hey, that's specific enough. Oh yes, it was specific enough, but it really, eventually I found out that he was giving me all these answers of what he was good at. And I realized there wasn't just one thing that he excelled at. It was a little bit of everything. Apparently he's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to demons, and he believes that he's actually really super talented. He actually said that in a Ouija session. He was like, I'm super talented. But, as a demon, yes, he could say that. He could be talking out of his hat. I don't know. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna assume for now that that's the story. That's the story that he's sticking with. And it's just like anyone. If you tell a story, let's say that there's this story, okay, an event that happened. Somebody was robbed, okay? You were there, some other people were there. Everyone's going to say something a little bit different. That's why eyewitness accounts are not very accurate, because everyone is going to see something different. And also, when you're in a situation where something that horrible happens, sometimes your brain does not see all of the information or notice what they were wearing unless you're a very super observant person. You can train your brain to observe, and eventually you can get to the point where you're like a Sherlock Holmes kind of thing. Some people do that naturally, some people have to train for it. But other than that, this is something my aunt told me. There are three sides to every story. There's your side, their side, and the real story that's in the middle. Now, you could say, oh, well, they're lying. Not necessarily. Telling something from your point of view is not necessarily lying, unless you're reversing the roles in which you were in that situation. I mean, you might kind of, for instance, I might kind of over exaggerate things a bit, but I'm not outright lying. And so it's quite possible with spirits is they're not outright lying. They're just giving you information that they think that you need to hear, or they're just giving you information that they're comfortable with you hearing. So give them time. Also, when you give them technology or you give them anything, it's going to take them a little bit to get adjusted to not only your environment but to your technology. And yes, they have the capability of understanding it, and sometimes they just don't want to talk to you. There are many reasons of why they may not want to communicate with you, but the best thing to do, acknowledge them, be patient, and make sure that you are as safe as you possibly can be. And please don't put yourself into situations. Just because I have put myself in that I have a possessed doll does not mean that you need to do the same. I can say, all of these spirits, they have preferences. So that means, depending on where they are and who they're with, they may get along with others, with the people that work with them the most rather than other people. That concludes what I had to say, and thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful, blessed day.